95th into the Burns Circle interchange. We're seeing delays in Hinsdale this morning. Route 83 southbound between Ogden and 55th. It does involve a pedestrian, and police are investigating. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continue next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine and patchy clouds, high 83. 66 right now. Next news coming up at 7. And Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Let me love you, and I will love you until you learn to love yourself.
Remember this Neo classic? Classic's probably a stretch, but it was popular back when I was still dancing on boxes and furry boots a few years ago.
Yeah, with your parachute pants.
Neo got in a bit of trouble the other day, particularly with Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union. Or is that who he's married to?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can find out.
I think so.
I can Google it.
He said, I feel like parents have almost forgotten what the role of a parent is. If your little boy comes up to you and says, Daddy, I want to be a girl, you just let him rock with that? Where did he get that? If you let this 5-year-old little boy eat candy all day, he's going to do that too. Like, when did it become a good idea to let a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or 12-year-old make a life-changing decision? Oh, boy.
Oh, no. Oh, he gonna done it now.
Third rail.
Woohoo.
He must have forgot he's in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, well, his publicist, unbeknownst to him, apparently did the perfunctory apology.
No, he did an apology. After much reflection, I'd like to express my deepest apologies to anyone I may have hurt with my comments. Well, I've always been an advocate for love and inclusivity and the LGBT, blah, 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 blah. Gender identity is nuanced. I honestly admit I plan to better educate myself on the topic, blah, 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 blah. All the performative genuflection that one must do if one wants to continue making music.
But then he doubled down on his original statement, and because I watch TMZ because I'm weird, he did claim that he had nothing to do with that statement. But here it is.
If my opinion offended somebody, yeah, sure, I apologize for you being offended because that wasn't my intention. My intention is never to offend anybody. However, I'm entitled to feel how I feel.
Yep.
I'm absolutely entitled to feel how I feel the same way you are entitled to feel how you feel.
Yeah,
I
wish
don't
you
know,
would
not
use
in Hollywood.
wish you use the word think instead of feel. I would like a restatement of his view then. I mean, that's not bad, but I'd like a restatement of his view. But anyway, it's more relevant. It's just yet another example of the sort of totalitarianism that's attendant to identitarian politics. Oh, and by the way, hardly the only recent case. J.K. Rowling is being disconnected from her work.
There's always drama going on with us. What now?
Not on her end.
No,
just
I know, but
these totalitarians that are afoot.
they won't leave her alone. Just back off and move on.
I wonder if Paul Allen is spinning in his grave because I think. Oh no, I think this is his museum. I think he funded the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle. They have removed all mention of J.K. Rowling from their Harry Potter exhibit. Make no mention of the creator. The creator's out.
Zip it.
Makes sense. I mean, again, you couldn't see this coming. You couldn't see it coming when Brendan Eich, the founder of Mozilla, was fired from Mozilla for writing a $1,500 check to a pro-traditional marriage organization in California back when that issue was on the ballot. Oh, and by the way, and it won in California. In California. Anyway, I digress. Project manager at the Museum of Pop Culture in Seattle, Chris Moore, who is transgender, obviously.
Well, everybody is now.
Said they would, quote, love to go with the internet's theory that these books were actually written without an author. But this certain person is a bit too vocal with her super hateful and divisive views to be ignored. For the time being, the curators decided to remove any of her artifacts from the gallery to reduce her impact. It's not a perfect solution, but it's what we were able to do in the short term while determining long-term practices. You don't have a Harry Potter exhibit without J.K. Rowling, so you thought. Not when museums are coming down and institutions are being corrupted. You can be disconnected from your work product. The Library of Congress. You remember the same Library of Congress that allowed rapper Lizzo to play James Madison, 200-year-old, never-before-heard crystal flute? That Library of Congress? Mm-hmm. They issued an apology yesterday on social media to Casey McQuiston, who's a female who identifies as queer and non-binary. Nice twofer.
Whatever that means, I don't.
They were promoting, the Library of Congress was, of course they were, promoting her new book, Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is a novel about a feud between the son of a U.S. president and a British prince that turns into a gay romance. Of course it does. The apology, even though McQuiston actually uses gendered pronouns in her own books, she uses the they, them language, and the Library of Congress would like her and everyone else to know that, quote, we deeply apologize to Casey McQuiston for using incorrect pronouns for them in our last post, and she'll be signing books and blah, 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 blah about our conversation and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's where it's at. That is where it's at. For more on where it's at, we're pleased to be joined by Brendan O'Neill, chief political writer at Spiked, spikedonline.com, and author of the recently released A Heretic's Manifesto, Essays on the Unsayable. Brendan, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Of course, J.K. Rowling, Neo, the Library of Congress, these anecdotes come as no surprise to you.
No, not at all. I mean, it does show that the trans madness is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go away soon, is it? It's still all around us. It's still impacting on everyday life. I think what we're seeing is just the extreme level of intolerance in this kind of political campaigning. I mean, they are literally erasing J.K. Rowling now because they find her so bigoted and detestable because she understands biological science. She understands that there are men and there are women and that they are different things. For that, she has to be treated like a witch. She's essentially witch hunted, cancelled.
But Brendan, we're having a hard time hearing you there for a second. Sorry, you were fading out there for a second about when you were talking about J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling is treated now as a witch, I think. That's how she is seen by these kinds of campaigners, by the gender lobby. She is seen as this unspeakable demonic figure simply because she holds perfectly reasonable views that the vast majority of your listeners and the vast majority of ordinary people will agree with, which is that biology is real, a man is not a woman, women should have their own spaces in certain situations, and blokes should not go in. I mean, these are reasonable views. And what Neo said was a reasonable view, and referring to a young woman as she rather than they is also a reasonable thing to do. We have to defend these reasonable points that people are making and really push back against the idea that any of these comments are in any way bigoted.
In Britain, I read this piece in the Atlantic, so take that into consideration. But the piece argues that the gender war is over in Britain, where you are, because the Labour Party has disassociated itself with radical postmodern ideas. They're still fully in and adopting the nomenclature and the views and prattling on endlessly about tolerance while practicing intolerance. But Helen Lewis writes, the new leader of the Labour Party distanced himself from the radical postmodern idea that the distinction between male and females is a social construct and that biology has nothing to do with women's historical oppression. So the idea that this will continue unabated and we can't achieve some sort of common ground is the argument by Helen Lewis. Britain is finding a way. Is that true?
I don't agree at all. I saw that piece. I think it's written, sorry to use woke language, but I think it's written from a pretty privileged position of a journalist who has a comfortable life, writes for The Atlantic and so on. But if you look at what many women are having to go through in their workplaces, for example, where they feel unable to speak up on these issues because they might be sacked, they might actually lose their livelihoods, or the way in which numerous workplaces now have open toilet policies, which means that a man who identifies as a woman can go into the women's bathroom. That makes women feel uncomfortable. In schools in the UK, there are now gender-neutral toilets to avoid offending small numbers of trans-identifying school kids. And that means that in some schools, girls are not going to the toilet all day long because they are embarrassed. And for a teenage girl, that's a real serious problem if they feel they cannot go to the bathroom. So all of these things are still happening. Just because Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, has said one or two mildly reasonable things on this issue does not indicate a sea change in this problem in the United Kingdom. So I think that's wishful thinking. And let's remind ourselves that just a few months ago, Keir Starmer was saying that 99.9% of women in the UK don't have a penis, which means he thinks that 0.01% of them do, which someone worked out is about 100. Someone worked out that that's about 100,000 people. So he thinks 100,000 women in the UK have penises. So this is not a rational politician, and he could very easily flip back to that position. So I think we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves in thinking that
pun intended. Yeah. All right. I want to get your take on this too. You're an equal opportunity cultural critic. You go after Ben Shapiro and others who are critical of the Barbie movie. Do tell.
I think, that piece I wrote was kind of a bit tongue-in-cheek. I was trying to have some fun at their expense, but I did think that the reaction of Ben Shapiro and Piers Morgan and a few others, the reaction they had to Barbie was so over the top. I know there was a jokey element in the video that Ben Shapiro made when he was burning the Barbie doll and the Ken doll and all that kind of stuff. I also think, guys, just relax. It's a funny film. I found it quite funny. It's also a bit ridiculous. It's over the top. People are enjoying it. Lots and lots of people have gone to see it. I'm glad that cinema seems to be coming back. With Barbenheimer, you had Barbie and Oppenheimer, and millions of people have gone to see those movies. I'm a big fan of going to the cinema, so I'm pleased about that. So I just wanted to say to them, look, stop acting like the woke people we would normally criticize, the kind of people who cry their eyes out if there's a movie released and there's only one black character, or if the female character has slightly fewer lines than the male character, or if the film is transphobic in their eyes. The woke will always go crazy about cultural products that they find offensive. I don't think our side of the debate should be doing the same thing.
I wanted to, the movie I want to see is the movie they played in India, where it's Oppenheimer, but with the Barbie movie subtitles.
Oh, really?
That's what I want to see. Yeah, I want to see. That would be a fun, that's almost like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 offering, which I would like to see. Brendan O'Neill is the chief political reporter at Spiked. He is also the author of the recently released A Heretic's Manifesto, Essays on the Unsayable. Brendan O'Neill, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A few days ago, I was fortunate to attend Family Day on the USS Bush, which had just returned from a 9-month deployment. My son's squadron had deployed with the Bush, one of many fleets, divisions, and groups sent around the world to project American power and defend American interests. While there are many positions surrounding the use of American forces, what is indisputable is that our military strength is the result of our innovators, skilled labor, manufacturers, and of course, our American fighting men and women. Walking that ship, it is hard to imagine how it all came together. A floating city of over 5,000 with all the infrastructure of a portable airport, weapon systems, power generation, communications, maintenance, an aircraft hangar, barracks, food, laundry, and even a barber shop, working 24/7 every day of the year. You want to be impressed with America? Take a tour if you get the chance. I'm Jeannie Ives. Good public policy begins by being informed. Sign up for our newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
All right. Going to be doing it soon here. Taking my Balance of Nature 6 capsules. I crack them open, stir it into warm water, and voila. Been doing it for years, and I love it. I have more energy. I'm able to do things that I love even as I age, believe it or not, and I feel healthier. And my body craves Balance of Nature. I'm not lying. So get the nutrition your body needs because it's real food, real nutrition. 800-246-8751. That's the number to call, 800-246-8751. Mention Chicago as your discount code. First timers get free shipping and 35% off. 800-246-8751 or simply go online to balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
It's a big deal because your finances are a really big deal. Wintrust Community Banks would like to announce our newest and greatest 11-month CD rate with a whopping 5.35% APY. Act now and you can lock in 5.35%. Just go to wintrust.com/lock-new-rates and start earning more. Annual percentage yield accurate as of May 5th, 2023 and assumes funds remain on deposit until maturity. Minimum daily balance of 1 cent required to obtain APY. $1,000 minimum to open. New money only. Offer may change at any time and without notice. Member FDIC.
Are you a driver of a Ford PowerStroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford PowerStroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford PowerStroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge Cummins, Mercedes Sprinter, and Isuzu diesel engines and transmission repairs. At Remke's, they'll make your vehicle repairs convenient by offering a free commercial loaner vehicle.
Remke's Garage, where you won't spend $1,000 to fix a $100 problem. Call for details and to schedule an appointment at 800-5-REMKES or visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, your diesel headquarters.
At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. Introducing 24/7 LifeGuard protection, only from SimpliSafe Home Security. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password, for you to become a victim. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to LifeLock.com.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, Don Boudreau from George Mason University answers that great philosophical question, do you have a right to a yo-yo? And later in the hour, Bocking the Homeless in Chicago.
Oh. All right, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Several family members dead, one badly hurt in a Crystal Lake shooting. Northwestern's athletic director is blasting football staffers over T-shirts. The governor grilled over unemployment fraud. Niles introducing feral cats to battle the rats. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
Parts of Hawaii are smoldering ruins. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After wildfires torched Maui,
Lahaina town was just so shocking and devastating.
Lieutenant and Acting Governor Sylvia Luke.
The whole town was decimated.
At least 36 people are dead. Some had to run into the ocean as the flames roared. This man was a crew member on a boat.
I was the last one off the dock when the firestorm came through the banyan tree and took everything with it.
harrowing stories from folks who are just trying to escape the fire any way that they can. Tourists are being told to stay away from the island of Maui at this time, and airlines have been cooperating with local officials trying to ferry people off of the island. So far, around 11,000 tourists have been evacuated out of Maui, and around 2,000 residents have gone into shelters.
Fox Weather's Max Gordon in Maui. Fires also burn on Hawaii's Big Island. Later this hour, we'll get an inflation update expected to show a slight increase in consumer prices last month from June, and the rise year over year might have also gone up a bit after dropping a lot lately. President Biden touted that in New Mexico, adding,
"I'm not satisfied with where it is. More work ahead."
Republicans blame Biden policies for inflation's surge last year. Now, today he'll go to Utah, visiting a VA hospital in Salt Lake City, highlighting a law he signed last year expanding military benefits to service members exposed to toxic materials in combat overseas. A man considered a threat to the president, Craig Robertson, killed in an FBI raid that turned into a standoff at his home in Provo, Utah.
The FBI says Robertson posted many credible, threatening messages online, and in a post on Monday, targeted the president, saying, "I hear Biden is coming to Utah, digging out my old ghillie suit and cleaning the dust off the M24 sniper rifle. Welcome, buffoon-in-chief."
Fox's Claudia Cowan. In Ecuador, a presidential candidate was assassinated at a campaign event 2 weeks before the election. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are mostly clear, 66 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Areas of very heavy, dense fog are reducing visibility down to a quarter mile or less at times this morning. An off-duty Cook County Sheriff's deputy was shot and critically wounded Wednesday night. It happened on the south side of Chicago. Chicago Fire says the incident happened around 9 p.m. near Midway Airport at 47th and South Cicero. Authorities are investigating a shooting that left several family members dead in unincorporated Crystal Lake.
Crystal Lake, that there's more weapons in the house located in the basement.
We have reports of upwards of 4 victims, offenders still on scene armed.
McHenry County Sheriff's say deputies were called out yesterday in the 5800 block of Wild Plum Road on reports of a single household member shooting relatives. 3 deceased females were found, a male and female seriously hurt. That male, believed to be the aggressor, was hospitalized and later pronounced dead. Cook County Jail inmate is dead after being beaten to death. Cook County Sheriff's deputies found 2 inmates fighting Tuesday. The pair separated. Later, Johnny Hendricks was taken to the hospital and died from his injuries. Niles announcing that they're piloting a feral cat program to try and control rats and other pests. Authorities are working with a resident in the 7800 block of North Nordica, who will provide food and shelter for the 5 feral cats. The cats released into the same block for a 2-month trial. Niles police will then evaluate the program's effectiveness. The boys from Elmhurst Little League are a step away from making it to the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And on Wednesday, they got rained out just like the big boys. This time, the Elmhurst Little League says it's the first time they've made it to a Little League regional championship. And this morning, we're finding out that today at 5 p.m., I believe that's 5 p.m. Eastern, likely 4 here, the Great Lakes Championships are expected to go ahead. It's on ESPN2, Illinois versus Ohio, and they'll battle it out in Whitestown, Indiana. Cubs lost to the Mets 4-3. White Sox blew out the Bronx Bombers 9-2. Mike Clevenger gets the win. The news service of Fox Valley Coins, currently buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, rare date proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
There are millions upon millions of people of good character going to good states and low-rent Democrat scum going to Democrat states. After all, that's where they thrive. This is where this is acceptable. And it's being put as something that's normal. It's normal now to be an outright thief, scumbag, traitor to your country.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart.
Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Balance of Nature, changing the world one life at a time.
I think it's just a really good idea, simply because I have such a busy schedule that I can't always take care of all of my nutritional needs in the proper ways. I really like it. It's quite nice. I would say that I have more energy. I'm sleeping really well. With my schedule, I don't get quite enough sleep sometimes. And when that happens, I still can manage to have a normal day the following day. So I'm pretty well pleased with it.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start at the top of the list. Eden, 17, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy, 44 in from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike in, 40 minutes from Manheim into the old post office. 52 in from Route 390. Stevenson, 43 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. It's like we're all taking a pause right before school starts next week. Dan Ryan inbound, 16, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays on the Tri-State northbound. Jams up right at I-88, the Reagan Memorial Toll. Crash 8094 in the left and right local lanes. Multiple vehicles involved. Eastbound 8094 between Klein and Grant. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Sunshine today, a few patchy clouds. A high today 83. It'll be partly cloudy this evening. Overnight low tonight 69. Partly sunny, a thunder shower. Humidity tomorrow, the high 85. Mostly sunny, very nice on Saturday, the high 86. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
65 at O'Hare. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yesterday we had this conversation about central banks issuing digital currencies. This is something that is being promoted by the World Economic Forum and central planners across the globe. And, while I'm all for technological innovations and hard currency, this wouldn't be hard currency necessarily. My spider senses are tingling when the World Economic Forum is talking about the wonders, as some have, the Cornell professor, who's a crypto expert in particular, talking about how this would be wonderful because we can look at purchases that people are making and determine whether it's a good purchase and bad purchase, the sort of tracking that we'll have. Now, there are others, though, I mean, just strictly from an economic perspective, who argue that crypto replacing the dollar is not something we should be afraid of. Brian Brooks, who is a partner at Valor Capital Group and former comptroller of the currency, argues in the Wall Street Journal, stablecoins are at the heart of a dollar-based revolution happening throughout the developing world. The price, as the name implies, supposed to stay steady, often at $1. And stablecoins, he argues, could bolster the post-war arrangement in which the dollar's dominance helped foster global trade and the biggest reduction in global poverty ever. But it can only happen if Congress implements a sound and stable regulatory framework, which is why he's promoting the work of Republican Congressman Patrick McHenry, who's the House Financial Services Committee chairman. He makes the point, does Brooks, that, look, you've got countries moving away from the dollar as the currency that's attended to commercial transactions. In 2000, dollars represented almost 73% of global central bank reserves. Today, that shares around 59%. And, of course, there's a lot of loose talk about the BRIC countries moving away from the dollar and toward the yuan, China's currency, in the not-too-distant future. So how are we to understand this burgeoning move to digital currencies and distinguish between something like a Bitcoin or an Ethereum or one of the cryptocurrencies from something that would be issued by our central bank, by the Federal Reserve, and backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government? And when you're thinking about this and who's promoting it from the position of government-backed digital currency, remember what these minders at the World Economic Forum are also proposing, like the wonderful carbon footprint tracking system. Yeah, that's also on the agenda over at the WEF.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Oh, gee, I can't wait. What could go wrong there? For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined by Don Boudreaux, who's an American economist, author, professor, co-director of the program on the American economy and globalization at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University. Don, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
So, you know, I mean, I'm sure you're engaged in thinking about this like others in your profession. And where do you come down? What you're hearing from some of those I mentioned affiliated with the WEF as well, but as well as more free market oriented guys, like the guy who wrote that op-ed in the Journal.
Yeah, so you said your spidey senses are tingling. Mine are having spasms.
Yeah.
And look, these people at the WEF, and you know, a lot of people high up in national governments, including the U.S. government around the world, their whole shtick is to find ways to control the unruly masses. You know, the people at the WEF, I think they really believe that they're doing humanity a service, but they're not. When you centralize these kinds of decisions, you get rid of competition, you get rid of spontaneity, you get rid of creativity, you certainly get rid of freedom, and that's all to the bad. In the case of currency, for example, we know from history that the best monies that have existed throughout history weren't created by government. They evolved, they emerged spontaneously as people traded and settled upon particular types of commodities to use as money, mostly gold and silver. Government later came along and seized those things and monopolized the money supply, and whenever it did so, it made the money supply less stable. And in doing that, it made prices less reliable, because when you have government monkeying around with the money supply, entrepreneurs and consumers and workers, they can't trust the prices that they see as well as they can when the money supply is stable.
Right,
So
and
I'm
so
all in favor. I'm all in favor of letting crypto emerge, but I do not want it being done by the government. The government should stay out of that.
But this is what's happening. I mean, what you just said, it's history repeating itself as it always does, which is they're on the cusp of trying to monopolize the emerging crypto sector as we move to digital currency. Isn't that what's happening?
Yes, absolutely. And in this case, not only will it make this potential competitor for existing currencies less viable as a competitor. When the government takes over crypto, the result is not going to be a cryptocurrency that will be as good as it would emerge without the government involvement in it. But it will give the government much more control because it's going to have a lot more information about how people spend their money. I'm very uneasy about having the government. Some people think it's a feature that the government will be able to track our expense. That's a bug, in my view. Yes, bad people will do bad things. That'll always be the case. But it will also prevent good people from doing good things that the government doesn't want those people to do. And that kind of control and oversight is very bad. It's the same thing with this carbon footprint
tracker.
Clip that you
nice, yeah.
Tracker.
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't even come up with an Orwellian euphemism for it. They just used the word tracker.
Absolutely, and so they're going to see how much carbon we emit, depending on whether we eat a vegetarian burger or a real burger, and then you count on it. Punitive taxes are going to be imposed on people who do things that the government and the elites don't like, and subsidies are going to be dispensed to people who do things that the elites and the government do like, and it'll be a way of controlling the spontaneous, individualized actions of millions of Americans, billions of people from around the world. Nothing but bad can come from this kind of central oversight and control. It's very, very frightening.
So one thing that might frighten people, with a cashless society, the government can find out, oh, you bought an assault rifle, or you bought in a magazine extender clip, things like that, don't you think?
Yeah, oh, yeah. And of course, the way this is sold to the public is the people peddling these kinds of schemes. They rightly point out, look, there are bad guys out there, and they're going to, with our system, we'll be able to better track the bad guys. Well, that's true, but again, the government will also be better able to track the good guys. It is not the case, of course, that the government is always on the right side. The government has its own interests, and that interest often includes shutting down and stymieing productive and peaceful actions that private citizens wish to engage in, but that the government finds threatening to its own power. And those kinds of actions are going to be the ones that are really squelched by this kind of oversight.
It's gonna be another selling safety to curtail freedom type of dynamic, right? Because they've been so successful at selling safety to take away freedoms. Why not continue?
Yeah, that's exactly what it will be. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are gullible enough to swallow this. Oh, well, our overlords will now be able to track what the bad guys are doing, and we can trust our overlords to use that power only to attack and stop genuine bad guys. It would never prevent us from doing the things that we want to do, because it tells us its interest is our interest, and of course that's all a lie.
All right, we've got a little Econ 101 vignette from you. Leonard Reed has his pencil. You have your yo-yo. Tell us about, give us the Econ 101 lesson on collusion, which of course has a negative connotation. Collusion, not with Russians, but economic collusion.
Economic collusion. I mean, even among most economists, collusion has a very bad name. So you and I both produce yo-yos, and we want to keep the price high, so we form a cartel agreement to not cut our prices, and we both stick to it. So consumers wind up paying higher prices for yo-yos, and that seems bad. You can certainly tell a story under which it is bad, but in the real world, we don't know what the best way is over the long run to supply things like yo-yos or pianos or whatever it is. And so my argument that you're referring to is one that says as long as people engage in peaceful activities, then I think collusion among competitors should be legal. The price will rise if, in fact, the price rises to an inordinate, uncompetitive height. That's going to attract in new competitors and force the price down, and that's good. But if the price rises and it doesn't attract in new competitors, then my presumption is that there must be a good reason why the price must be higher. That price should be higher to maintain the industrial capacity for that particular sector over the long run. We need to allow people to experiment with all sorts of different ways to satisfy consumers, not just introducing new products, not just introducing new ways to cut costs, but introducing new contractual arrangements, such as agreements between competitors. And I much more trust the imperfect, of course, but still very robust competitive market process of entrepreneurs always being on the lookout for profits, consumers being able to say no to offers that they don't like. I trust that process to, over time, discover and stick to the best ways to organize our economic activities. Then I trust government bureaucrats with their textbook formulas to say, oh, this arrangement is good, that arrangement is bad. And because when we rely upon that, upon government, they simply do not have, the officials do not have the capacity to grasp the complexity of this enormously complex economy of which we are a part. So I'm in favor of allowing as much contractual freedom, including the freedom to collude, not the freedom to exclude other people from the industry by using government privileges, but the freedom to agree with fellow competitors to set prices, to set output limits, because I think only then will we get proper proper test of what works and what doesn't.
Econ 101 with Don Boudreaux, American economist, author, professor, co-director of the program on the American economy and globalization at the Mercatus Center at George Mason University as well. Don, no, he blogs at cafehayek.com, which is a good blog. Don Boudreaux, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. Introducing 24/7 LifeGuard protection, only from Simply Safe Home Security. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
There are more identity threats than you realize. Even if you monitor your credit, only a little personal info needs to leak out, like your social security number or password, for you to become a victim. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS. Go to LifeLock.com.
Changing the world, one life at a time.
I've had a high energy level every day, and I've just been doing great. And I just feel like it's a definite advantage to take them. Well, let me just say one other thing. I mentioned to my doctor that I was taking Balance of Nature, and they said they were very positive about that. And they said that was really good. That's a good product. And so I've been very pleased.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Are you a business owner with a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth, but you just need the right bank? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that Signature Bank is all about going the distance for commercial banking customers. It's what Signature Bank does every day. Their team understands that accessibility is key to their culture. In times like these, you want a bank that is there for you to weather the bad times and capitalize on the good. And with Signature Bank by your side, you can't go wrong. It's a true partnership. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. I believe in what they have to offer, from innovative tech and customized solutions to help your business grow and thrive. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
There are more than 50 million people enslaved in the world today. Most of them are women and children.
They lock you in cellars or in rooms with no windows. 95% of girls that are born in the brothels remain trapped in the brothels for the rest of their lives.
SOS International is working to make freedom possible for these women and kids. And with your help, today can be the day another victim comes into freedom.
By the hundreds, we are saving those girls and bringing them to a secure place, a place that is a safe home for them to grow in.
Just $150 makes freedom possible for a trafficking victim. It provides shelter, food, counseling, everything they need to start a new life. Make freedom possible now. Visit 560theanswer.com/SOS. Every day that goes by is another day of suffering and abuse. But you can change it now. You can make today the day of freedom and rescue. Learn how you can bring freedom now at 560theanswer.com/SOS.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. AM 560, The Answer.
Amy, I know you said you want to see the Barbie movie. You haven't yet.
Yes, I can't wait.
I've got the perfect opportunity for you. It's a bit of a travel, but I think it's worth it because it'll be a sort of a discreet crowd.
Yeah, I don't mind.
In a small venue.
Okay.
So you'll have a nice movie going experience.
I'm just gonna go by myself since I'm all alone.
No. Here, well, this
Okay.
is the other thing.
All right.
I'll allow you to bond with and make some new friends. Let me introduce you to the woman organizing this Barbie outing. And this is important to her because it's the first time she's left her house in 3 years. So there are certain stipulations, certain accommodations, certain precautions she's taking.
Wow, a COVIDian, huh?
And again, good seats still available.
Next week, which is July 31st, August 1st, someday next week on a weekday, I am renting out a theater in Northwest Portland. The entire theater, the whole theater. The theater seats 46 people, I think.
Okay.
We're only going to do 20 tickets. So me and 19 other people. That's it. In addition to that, there will be one employee. So the entire building, the entire cinema, is going to be one employee plus 20 attendees. That's it. We are the only people in the building, and every single person, including that employee, is going to be wearing an N95 the entire time.
No.
The employee's going to put it on before they enter the building. They've been
This is
chosen
sickness.
specifically for this purpose. They seem to get it.
They seem
If
to
you
get
show
it.
up because you bought a ticket, I need to see a KN94 well-fitted or a 95 well-fitted or a P100. And if I see a baggy mask, I'm going to tell you to take it off and put on one that I hand you. I'm holding onto a bunch of masks.
is this
Choose the
woman?
one you like best. There are no concessions during the movie. They're not even going to open it up. Do not bother bringing food or drinks. You may not take your mask off in the movie. If you need to scratch your nose or you need to take a sip of water, you need to get up,
I
exit
can't
the
hear
theater,
this.
do that, and then come back. They're going to be medically fragile people there. This is their first opportunity in like 3.5 years, so we are not fucking around here, folks. No kids. I can't wear a mask solidly for 2 hours. Like, I'm not going to do little kids because I don't blame them, but it is what it is.
Who is
This
this
is going to be a
insufferable
morning
twat?
showing. We are the first people in the building, so we will be in and out well before any other
Germs.
employees or other people show up for the showings. The building will have had a chance to clear the air from the night before. And also, they upgraded their filtration over the past 3 years, and they just had an inspection June 26th, their quarterly inspection, and changed out all of their MERV filters. So they're in a pretty good spot. It's going to be $20 to $25 a person. All I'm doing is covering the cost. That's it. So I will refund any overages. It is a risk. I don't know how else to put that. It is definitely a risk to be in a building for 2 hours. Makes me anxious.
God. Stay home.
But I feel like it's a measured risk and one I'm willing to take. And if there are more cautions that we could take, definitely let me know. But if you want to go, hit the comments, let me know, and I'll be in touch. I'll get in touch with you over DM, and we will make it work.
She's run the traps on this, so I think
I want to go
the
just
bases covered.
I want to go just to rip her mask off her face.
She's got
or just take it off and start coughing. These people that's a mental illness right there. But she's doing it for Barbie. But don't. I mean, obviously, people are going to be 6 feet apart.
She's being honest about the risks. So it's up to you. But risk of being in a building for 2 hours watching a movie with 19 other people. But it's just a reminder who we turn the country over to.
There you go. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Better to Bach or Toto the homeless? That's the big question at 7:37.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
7:31, 65 degrees. Areas of heavy and dense fog, reducing visibility. Some areas a quarter mile or less this morning. We're tracking Moscow this morning as Russian officials say air defense sirens have gone off and air defense systems have shot down at least 2 drones heading toward Moscow for the second straight day. The attack reported this morning apparently disrupted flights at international airports. At least 36 have died in the Lahaina fire in Hawaii. Maui County writing in a statement that others are still being searched for. Former Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard was on Fox this morning.
I'm hearing from friends of mine and community leaders there on Maui as they expect that number to dramatically increase the more those first responders are able to get out into some of these areas that have been most heavily impacted by the fire.
Officials say 271 structures or more were damaged or destroyed, dozens injured. An American nurse and her daughter are free after being kidnapped in Haiti. State Department spokesperson Matt Miller.
We express our deepest appreciation to our Haitian and U.S. interagency partners for their assistance in facilitating for their safe release.
The woman and her daughter were kidnapped while working for the nonprofit El Roy Haiti in Port-au-Prince late last month. An armed Utah man accused of making violent threats against President Joe Biden was shot and killed by FBI agents hours before the president landed in the state on Wednesday. An off-duty Cook County Sheriff's deputy was shot and critically hurt Wednesday night on the south side of Chicago. Chicago Fire says the shooting happened around 9 p.m. close to Midway Airport, 47th and South Cicero. Federal perjury trial of longtime Chief of Staff for former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan is underway. Tim Mapes, if convicted, could face 20 years in prison. As Illinois cities grapple with people experiencing homelessness, some law enforcement agencies are now concerned with how the state's Safety Act will impact their ability to address trespassers. After the Supreme Court upheld the Safety Act's no-cash bail provision, they set an implementation date of September 18. During this week's Springfield City Council meeting, Springfield Police Chief Ken Scarlett warned that police can only do so much now when someone trespasses.
That's a misdemeanor, and someone could be arrested, taken to the county. They'll be booked and released within minutes and back out.
Scarlett warning that the scenario could get worse with the Pretrial Fairness Act. While the measure was modified late last year, those found trespassing must first be issued a ticket, and if they don't leave the premises, only then can they possibly be arrested. A Lake County woman is charged with theft and forgery for allegedly stealing more than $110,000 from the Ravinia Festival Association. And former Bears player Steve McMichael is no longer hospitalized. Released last night from Holy Cross Hospital after being admitted last week due to sepsis and pneumonia. McMichael's wife, Misty, says she hopes that her husband, who suffers from ALS, can live long enough to experience his induction into the Hall of Fame. Cubs lost to the Mets 4-3. White Sox blew out the Bronx Bombers 9-2. NFL preseason action heats up tonight with a pair of games. Bears take on Tennessee Saturday. The news is a service of MyPillow. MyPillow employees want to thank you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. Queen-size MyPillows, regular price $69.98, now only $19.98 with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's time to wake up, Illinois. This is Shannon Adcock with Awake, Illinois. On June 5th, I had the pleasure of appearing on Fox Business's Evening Edit with Liz McDonald to discuss how Biden, Pritzker, and the Democrats are failing our kids. While Biden is ignoring the existence of a seventh grandchild, he isn't focused on America's kids either. He prefers to collude with the nation's teacher unions, aka the wicked cabals that are donors to leftist Democrat politicians. The Post-Millennial recently published how the NEA Teacher Union adopted an LGBTQ-centric amendment at a meeting earlier this month, and the price tag is $583,000. Documents reviewed by the Post-Millennial from the NEA meeting show that the new measure will further entrench groups like the trans-focused Human Rights Campaign, the trans-teen-focused Trevor Project, and the global trans group GLSEN into curriculum and policy. While literacy and math scores are the lowest they've been in decades, Lurie Children's Hospital and the various school-based sexuality clubs are working very hard to talk to your kids about puberty blockers, chest binders, and the pseudoscience that Europe has already canceled, known as gender-affirming care. Well, let us affirm this for you. This is a war on children, and we parents have had enough. To put your parental rights on record prior to the start of the school year, visit www.awakeil.com/forms. Also be sure to check out the Awake Americans Woke 101 event recording and toolkit available at awakeamericans.org. The time is now to defend your values. For Awake Illinois and Awake Americans, I'm Shannon Adcock, and we cannot be canceled.
The New York Times calls BritBox the best of British telly. Extreme Brilliant series you can only find on BritBox. Start a free trial at BritBox.com.
7:38. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and we'll jump on the Kennedy Expressway. 55 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. You're jammed up inbound Montrose all the way through Chicago. Kennedy outbound 42 back out to the big airport. Ike in 36 from Manheim into the old post office. Outbound 31 back out to Manheim. Stevenson in 46 from the Tri-State into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan 1995th into the Burns Circle interchange. Delays on 8094 due to a crash in the left and right local lanes involving multiple vehicles. It's eastbound 8094 between Klein and Grant. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine and patchy clouds, high 83, a low of 69 overnight. 65 right now and sunshine. Your next news update at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Better to Bach or Toto the homeless? What do you think will have the greatest shooing effect? Or is there a artist or song that you think would be better? Retailers are using music to try to shoo the homeless away from loitering outside their stores. In L.A., the proprietor of a 7-Eleven is using this little ditty. I like.
I love this song. I would stand there and sing. It's gonna take me a life to drag you away from here.
But now
Can we get to
remember,
the
this is on a continuous loop.
Oh.
So even if you like Africa, do you want to hear Africa over and over again for 10 hours if you're just loitering in front of a business?
I don't know. Where's the word? George? Heck.
The 7-Eleven in L.A.
We're okay.
That's one option.
All right. What else you got, boss?
Here at Walgreens in Chicago.
Oh, they're stepping it up a little bit, huh?
They're using Bach, trying to Bach the homeless. Something like, I don't know
number what?
I don't know exactly what they're using, but I selected, for example, one of the Brandenburg concertos here. Now again, even if you
I
like
believe
this,
it's concerto number 2.
and if you're this is when you're walking
Major.
up, you're not in the store. It's just
Right.
you're walking up to the store. So if you're sitting outside the store,
Hello, mate.
what was Bach Australian? What?
I don't know.
I don't know.
just
What
feels
is that?
Fine.
You're doing Jim
Going
Carrey
crazy
from
now.
Dumb and Dumber? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Bach or Toto or some other artist a song. I mean, I would go to.
I've got something good.
I would go to the Walgreens and maybe have a cigar outside and sit and listen, especially if they played a selection. The over and over might get a bit repetitive.
Well, but that's the point, right? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
So you're trying to think of a grating artist or song, well, particularly song since it's on 24/7 loop, that would drive people away. And also you have to get a sense of sort of what the consensus is among the homeless in terms of artists they like and don't like. It almost would require like a survey work.
I think I'd remember the David Koresh and the what were they called?
The Branch Davidians.
Branch Davidians, who I almost called Branch Covidians.
Yeah, well.
They used a dental drill to try to get them to come out. 24/7, like that sound. I think that would better serve the Walgreens or the 7-Eleven proprietors if they wanted to keep the homeless away. Maybe putting it, I don't know.
I'm thinking like.
I mean, the homeless now are treated a lot worse than the illegal migrants that have come here to Chicago. Yeah. Well, that's true.
I'm thinking like Cherry Pie from Warrant.
Oh, she's my cherry
Is that Warrant?
pie.
That was Warrant, wasn't it?
Do you have that, George?
No,
George
please,
is filling in
please.
for Justin, who's on his bachelor party.
I'm gonna flee the studio if you play that. I'm just thinking of grading songs and artists, but obviously you have to come up with a song. I'm thinking.
What are you thinking?
Two Princes, Spin Doctors.
I don't know. How does that go?
When two princes come to. Yeah, no, I'm not. Maybe actually
No,
that would
why
be the
don't
way to
you
do it. The way to
call?
do
I
it.
mean, why don't
the
you
way to
sing
do
it?
it would have
Own
like
it.
me or you sing Toto's Africa. That would drive people away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Don't actually have the artist.
To drag me away from you.
That clears all the homeless outside of
I've
Walgreens.
Lost my head voice, Dan.
Yeah.
It's nothing but 100.
Oh my
men
God.
on walk. Oh, you know what? I'm eating
Holy.
goldfish while I'm trying to sing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because we're
Maybe
poor.
like when it's time to change, the Brady Bunch.
When it's time to change, you
Yeah,
got
or-
to rearrange.
Again, or you better singing it. That would eliminate the homeless problem. I'll tell you, this could be a side hustle. Retailers could hire you to sing songs to the homeless.
I have an idea.
No. Oh,
God? Is that
is
you,
that
God?
you? Oh, no, it's just George Hoffman filling in for Justin. Oh.
I saw a sign.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or I saw the sign.
Just on a loop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm already annoyed. I agree.
312-642-5600. You can also text us your ideas at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment. Oh, Barry Manilow's Mandy. Oh, Mandy.
No, that would have the homeless crying.
Justin Bieber's Baby on a loop.
What about anything from the Carpenters to remind them they're hungry?
Oh,
no!
you know what?
Is that too soon?
So too soon.
Is that too soon? No, come on.
I mean, it's only 35 years ago or such. Rude. You're rude.
I'm just
You're
spitballing.
This is why you're single.
George made me say that.
Yeah, George.
I'm blaming it on him. Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. They should play that Nancy Kerrigan screaming, why, after she got hit in the shin.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got to get hit in the knee.
By
Jeff Galooly. What was that dude's name?
Jeff Galooly.
Oh, God.
I, Tonya. Good.
That's a great movie.
And wasn't it Margot Robbie?
Yes,
who played
Margot
Tonya
Robbie,
Harding?
and she's
that was like her breakout
an amazing
role.
actress. I
Breakout
don't care
role.
what any of you say, Barbie
Yeah.
or not. I love her.
Yeah.
She's hot too.
Frank in Tinley Park.
How about Indian music?
Oh,
Clerks would like it.
Like a Bollywood type of.
Like
oh my God!
Like Native American music,
The worst.
like chants, or like Indian, like India.
India, the worst.
Thanks for
No,
calling.
Mexican music is pretty. Like
You mean
maybe-
you don't like a good mariachi band?
No, it's not Mary. It's that the circus music is like. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
I probably sound racist.
Yeah, yeah. I think.
Am I gonna get fired?
We need to bring that "Hate Has No Home Here" sign back in the studio.
No, you know
George.
what I'm saying? That annoying, like, George, can you please find? Honestly, this is your life's mission right now. Find me some classical Mexican music. And it's
How about
just
Serena? What's wrong with Serena?
No, you mean Selena?
And Selena too, both of them.
Selena was lovely. When she died, I
Yeah.
cried, and I was, yeah.
Well, that's
that's mariachi.
mariachi
That's-
music. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like. Can you find something more annoying? That's
I can find something more annoying.
that's so rude.
John in Portage Park.
Yeah, I don't know the artist of this song, but it goes birdies.
We got another text.
Maybe you and
message.
John can do duets to the homeless.
Play the Hanson that do up do up
and
do
bop.
it up bop boo.
Okay,
bop,
we
bop,
got it.
bop, boo.
Thanks for nothing.
Whoa, whoa.
Okay. Good grief. Jim in LaGrange.
Yeah, I think you got to go more seasonal. I think Gene Autry's version of "Here Comes Santa Claus" would drive anybody insane. Going 365 on that.
All right, thanks for the call, Jim. Classic. Going with the classics. Verlon, Southside.
The name of the group, The Dead Can Dance. The name of the song, Man with None.
Man with None?
Yes, ask George to Google it. Trust me, it'll run anybody away, but I like it. It's a dark, dark song about Socrates and how they killed him.
Really? Wow, that's a deep
Yeah.
dig from Verlon. I'm very impressed. I like the song. I mean, there are songs I like that maybe I think would be, that's interesting, like going something that's dark and depressing, like the song I like to play as the anthem for Chicago, the theme song of Sons of Anarchy, Come Join the Murder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by White Buffalo.
There's a text. We had a ton of text messages, but
Uh-huh.
Hocus Pocus from Focus. I don't know what that is. Go with kids' music, a song that never ends.
Like Inagata
Or
DeVita.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Oh, yeah.
His name
Yeah.
is my name.
Yeah.
too. Whenever we go out, the people always shout, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Na 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 na. See, I'm getting better.
That could incite a riot, though. Not just shoot people.
Grunge music. That's true. Oh, I can't stand grunge. Ugh. Or you can play the national anthem the whole time, somebody says.
No, there's no
I don't know
reason to
about
believe
that.
the homeless aren't patriotic. It's not like they're the U.S. women's soccer team.
Dan and Amy, you're talking about the Walgreens in Greektown.
Okay.
That's where they're playing the classical music. And they said the Home Depot on Addison plays classical music to try and keep the migrants from hanging out.
Well, this is going on around the country. These are
Yeah.
just two examples, and I thought they were interesting, like Bach and Toto. Again, I mean, maybe if the homeless weren't there, I'd stop by and smoke a cigar and just hang out outside the Walgreens. But, yeah, it's an interesting approach.
Play the screeching sound of Monica Seles playing tennis.
When she gets stabbed? Oh, you mean
No,
the grunting?
Yeah, like a huh. Ha!
Yeah. How about we just do Amy Jacobson's impersonations?
Baby shark, baby shark. That's a good one too.
What's that? What's the what was the sigh that Korean rapper dude?
Oh, that Gangnam Style. Whoop,
Gangnam
whoop,
Style.
whoop, whoop.
Yeah, Gangnam Style could. But that
Gangnam Style.
it's a fine line between getting people to shoo and inciting them to murder one another, though. That's the question. That's the question in some of the songs.
The Macarena. Hey, Macarena.
Yeah.
And that would get you.
You know, we were talking about the other day with Justin's nuptials in the offing.
He's on his way to Vegas for his bachelor party. What could go wrong?
The dance music at weddings, like you like that electric slide.
Oh yeah, that
And you like
the cha-cha.
And you like the
slide to the left.
Yeah.
Slide to the left.
Yeah.
What's that called? The guy just died. He was 58 years old.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Put Chicago on the map with that.
The Chicago Cha-Cha, it's called. Yeah.
Is it really?
Cha-Cha the homeless right outside of the front of Walgreens.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Worried about investing in the stock market, especially with Joe Biden in office? Do you trust the economy? What if you could invest in a secure, collateralized portfolio with a high fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? A portfolio where you will know what each monthly statement will look like with no surprises. Your interest is compounded daily. You are paid monthly, and there are no fees. You can turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose, and there is absolutely no loss of principal if you ever need your money back. Just go to investyrefy.com. That's invest, the letter Y, then REFY.com. Or call 888-YREFY, that's Y-R-E-F-Y, 24. You can earn a fixed rate of return of up to 10.25%. Just call 888-YREFY24 or go to investyrefy.com and tell them Dennis Prager sent you.
Hey, I'm Raquel.
And I'm Babette.
Here to invite you to listen to our show, Belly of the Beast,
where we tackle all the hot topics and issues that you are talking about today.
So join us each week for our
hard-hitting,
fun,
informative,
topical,
out there
radio show where we leave nothing on the table.
Belly of the Beast, heard every Saturday evening at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer. And follow us on Facebook at Belly of the Beast IL.
Real quick, we got a lot of offerings here.
Yeah.
1-800-CARS-FOR-KIDS. 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS. I did call them when I got rid of my hobo ride.
See, it worked.
Roseanne Barr's version of the national anthem.
Mm-hmm. Hillary and Kamala cackling. I got that.
It's a small world, after all.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best, so I think that this would really... Oh, what does the fox say?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Fox say? Oh, somebody's so rude.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Amy Jacobson pronouncing difficult names. Oh,
that's not bad.
That's so rude. And this is the best. Sam Kinison screaming in a continuous loop. I think that is the winner.
Pretty good.
That would actually
You're looking
be effective.
for a song though. What about this? What if I just sang the lyrics of Toto songs, for example? Since
Okay,
I do know some.
All right, let's go.
Some people live their dreams. Some people close their eyes.
I'm leaving.
Some people's destiny passes by. There are no guarantees. There are no alibis. That's how our love must be. Don't ask why. It takes some time. God knows how long. And then I explain what the lyrics mean.
Okay.
And we have a little conversation about that. You think that would drive people away?
Yeah, I do.
Maybe a public service I could perform. You can shed that fat and be slimmer for the summer. Maybe I could read them the ads from our show in a continuous loop. You can shed that fat and be slimmer for the summer.
Fat?
No more wearing cover-ups or T-shirts in the pool. NJ Diet will help you the natural way. No shots, no hormones, no surgery. You'll lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40-plus pounds in only 40 days with NJ Diet. They use your hair, saliva, and not anybody's hair. They use your hair, saliva, and blood work along with bioenergetic scans to personalize natural solutions and supplements that get your body into the fat-burning zone so you can finally lose the weight. Then NJ Diet uses DNA info to help you keep it off. And best of all, it's contractually guaranteed. You're fully supervised the entire time to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water. And you even get Dr. T's personal email and phone number. Dr. Turovets is Dr. T, and he's the founder of NJ Diet.
Any form of yodeling.
Oh, hey.
Barney, I love you.
Steve Daly
you
just
love-
passed away.
Oh, yeah.
Or John
Daly.
Or
Oh,
John.
God, you're kidding.
Wait, which
Give it up.
guy?
It's John Daly. I'm the news nerd.
Steve
okay?
Daly's a member of Chicago Golf. Really good stick.
Okay, great. Congratulations.
John
Do
Daly
you
was
yodel.
John Daly was the ABC 7A.
Yeah, and he was like, yodel.
Was it John? I thought it was John Drury.
It's John Drury and John Daly.
No, it wasn't
No,
John
no, it
Daly.
wasn't John.
John Daly is vodka with lemonade and iced tea.
What was his name? Maybe I thought I would. Well, you keep reading and I'll.
You're the
find
one in the news biz. Okay, NJ Diet has locations close by in Skokie and Oak Brook. Joel Daly.
Joel Daly.
Yeah, there it is. Came to me.
Yeah,
NJ
somebody
Diet
texted
has
you.
locations close by in Skokie and Oak Brook, or available from home with is available from home with live online video consultations. Call 855-5NJ-DIET or schedule your consult today at njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Think back to a time when you were doing a physically demanding activity and you wanted to keep going, but you just didn't have the energy to. Having the right nutrition can make a huge difference between energy and long-lasting energy. That's why it's so important to nourish our bodies with the right kind of fuel, and there's no better way of doing that than with fruits and vegetables. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Prager.
AM 560, The Answer.
And I think it's going to be a long, long time.
Oh, this is bad.
The touchdown brings me back.
Is this Mike Pence?
Talk singing, yeah.
Who is this?
They think I am back home.
Rocket
I'm
Man.
a rocket
Yeah, right.
man.
Here, I got something
I'm a
else.
man.
I
Yes,
got.
sir.
Here, what about putting Harry's Razor CEO Andy Katz Mayfield on a continuous loop explaining the company's parental leave policy?
Created a really sort of unbalanced dynamic and made the co-parenting thing really hard to actually live in practice. And so, that experience, was one that led us to this conclusion that, hey, we need not just a general parental leave policy, but an equal parental leave policy that treats birthing and non-birthing parents equally. So we implemented that and give everybody 4 months, regardless of whether you're the birthing parent or the non-birthing parent.
Fine, I'm leaving. Just stop talking. I'm leaving. Okay. We got others too. Mambo number 5, Black Sabbath's War Pigs. A lot of them coming in. A lot of bad music.
Muppet movie, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
I'm not a Bohemian Rhapsody fan either, actually.
Yeah. Tiny Tim, Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Rebecca Black.
All right, we'll keep at it. Coming up at 8:08, we're going to talk about the results of that Ohio referendum and the latest developments with the FBI's targeting of Catholics. Christopher Wray wasn't exactly truthful when he was last before Congress. Mary Fiorito joins us at 8:08.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
Several family members dead after a Crystal Lake shooting. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
The wind is calmer in Hawaii and the wildfires under more control. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but there's a lot of death and destruction.
The town of Lahaina, a beautiful historic town where lots of people love to go take a vacation, that is unfortunately burned to the ground, unrecognizable at this hour.
Fox Weather's Max Gordon is in Maui, where at least 36 people have been killed.
We had winds in the 70, 80-mile-per-hour range. That not only made it very difficult for firefighters to tame the flames, but also firefighting aircraft couldn't lift off. They couldn't make those bucket drops from helicopters, and that also made things very difficult.
Here's Acting Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke.
This is not a safe place to be. In certain parts of Maui, we have shelters that are overrun.
Thousands of tourists have fled the island or are still trying to. Fires also burned Hawaii's Big Island. We just got an update on inflation. Consumer prices rose 0.2% last month from June.
Inflation in the year ending in July came in at 3.2%, a little cooler than expected. Though it's up from June's annual reading, it's a different comparison because inflation started to moderate in July of last year.
Fox's Ginny Casola. President Biden, while in New Mexico, touted the recent drop in inflation. He also took a question from Fox's Peter Doocy. The first Biden reaction to testimony to Congress.
One of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
I've never talked business with anybody. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Now, House Republicans say they have bank records showing the Biden family got $20 million while he was vice president and had dinner with a Russian billionaire who had just paid Hunter Biden. Now, today, the president will focus on expanded military benefits at a VA hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah, the day after a man who posted online Biden threats was killed in an FBI standoff at his home in Provo. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine, 65 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Areas of dense fog beginning to peel off, but some areas are still seeing visibility at a quarter mile or less. An off-duty Cook County Sheriff's Office deputy was shot and critically wounded Wednesday night on the south side of Chicago near 47th and South Cicero Avenue. Authorities continue investigating after a shooting left several family members dead in unincorporated Crystal Lake.
House located in the basement.
We have reports of upwards of 4 victims, offenders still on scene armed.
The McHenry County Sheriff's deputies say they were called to the home early yesterday in the 5800 block of Wild Plum Road. Deputies located 3 deceased females and a male and female seriously injured. That male, believed to be the aggressor, later died. A Cook County jail inmate is dead after being beaten to death. Cook County Sheriff's Office says jail security responded to a disturbance Tuesday morning, found 2 inmates fighting. Johnny Hendricks was hospitalized. He later died from his injuries. A Lake County woman is charged with theft and forgery for allegedly stealing more than $110,000 from the Ravinia Festival Association, where she was an accounting employee. Michelle Brigham, 39, of Glenview, faces up to 20 years in prison. The news service of Cabino Environmental. Home and business owners use Cabino Oil Stain Remover because it's the most powerful oil stain lifting formula on the market. Cabino Oil Stain Remover is available at all 8 Rental Max locations. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Major luxury brands are merging. Tapestry, parent company of Coach, is buying Capri Holdings, which owns Michael Kors, Jimmy Choo, and Versace. Tapestry also owns Kate Spade and Stuart Weitzman. Luxury companies have been combining to compete with the giant in the business, LVMH. Walt Disney's earnings top predictions. Though its revenue was slightly weaker than forecast, investors are encouraged that Disney Plus is cracking down on password sharing and is raising rising prices. Wynn Resort shares are up 2%. Its profit and sales were better than predicted. People are coming back to casinos, including in Macau. You'll be seeing ads on Lyft's app when you book a ride. Lyft's been looking for ways to make money aside from what it charges for rides. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Dennis Prager says we're no better.
If a right-wing government had done this to the left-wing leader of the opposition in a South American country, we would have said, of course, what do you expect? It's a banana republic. That's what we are becoming as well. Corrupt, like so many of the other governments have been in the Western Hemisphere.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey, let me tell you about our age analysis assessment. It takes just a few seconds to scan for those advanced glycated end products that cause premature aging. And then we'll briefly go over your results and give you a few things for you to do to improve. And then we'll retest you in about 60 days. And you'll pay our special low price for your first assessment, and I'll pay for your second one. That's right, your follow-up age analysis assessment is on me. And we're going to compare your biologic age with your chronologic age, and then we're going to help you determine if your biologic age is on par with your chronologic age. But you got to make that call today, not tomorrow, but today. It's our Health Quest Radio hotline, 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. Second assessment free if you make that call right now. 800-794-1855. It's Health Quest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Less money for the exact same thing. Hope this is clear enough. Consumer Cellular, when freedom calls, they're here to answer. Switch today and get a second month of service for free. Go to consumercellular.com/free month and enter promo code free month. Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 5 gigabyte data plan and unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023. Promotion subject to terms and conditions.
8:07, let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Inbound Edens, 26 minutes, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Kennedy inbound, 54, O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. Ike in, it's an hour from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 35 in from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 25 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Things slow on Route 53, stop and go northbound between Algonquin and Kirchhoff. And in Hinsdale, we're still seeing delays on Route 83 southbound between Ogden and 55th from a much earlier accident that may have involved a pedestrian. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine and patchy clouds today, high 83, partly cloudy and 69 overnight. Currently 68 degrees. Next news coming up at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A couple months ago, this was the exchange that Missouri Senator Josh Hawley had with Attorney General Merrick Garland over the issue of the FBI targeting Catholics. This memo that originated out of the FBI's field office in Richmond, Virginia, that talked about the domestic terrorist threat posed by Catholics who attend the traditional Latin Mass. This was the exchange.
I notice a pattern, though. The FBI field office in Richmond, on the 23rd of January of this year, issued a memorandum in which they advocated for, and I quote, the exploration of new avenues for tripwire and source development against traditionalist Catholics, it's their language, including those who favor the Latin Mass. Attorney General, are you cultivating sources and spies in Latin Mass parishes and other Catholic parishes around the country?
No, the Justice Department does not do that. It does not do investigations based on religion. I saw the document you have.
What did you do about it?
It's appalling. It's appalling. I'm in complete agreement with you. I understand that the FBI has withdrawn it and is now looking into how this could ever have happened.
How did it happen?
That's what they're looking into. But I'm totally in agreement with you. That document is appalling.
I'll tell you how it happened. This memorandum, which is supposed to be intelligent, cites extensively the Southern Poverty Law Center, which goes on to identify all of these different Catholics as being part of hate groups. Is this how the FBI, under your direction and leadership, is this how they do their intelligence work? They look at left-wing advocacy groups to target Catholics? Is this what's going on? I mean, clearly it is. How is this happening?
The FBI is not targeting Catholics, and as I've said, this is an inappropriate memorandum, and it doesn't reflect the methods that the FBI is supposed to be using. It should not be relying on any single organization without doing its own work.
Let me just ask you, as my time expires here, a very direct question. How many informants do you have in Catholic churches across America?
I don't know, and I don't believe we have any informants aimed at Catholic churches. We have a rule against investigations based on First Amendment activity, and Catholic churches are obviously First Amendment activity. But I don't know a specific answer to it.
You don't know the specifics of anything, it seems, but apparently on your watch, this Justice Department is targeting Catholics, targeting people of faith, specifically for their faith views.
Christopher Wray testified more recently. He didn't have specifics on anything either. He gave his contrived outrage about this memo as well. Pending investigation, have to get back to you about if I can release any names or other information about said investigation, who was involved with this memo, how wide-sweeping it was, and so forth. Well, some news on this. From a less redacted internal FBI document that was released yesterday by the House Judiciary Committee, chaired by Jim Jordan, the FBI's memo about Catholics was not limited to, a single person or a few people in the Richmond office. No. Didn't meet its standards, had been withdrawn, so on and so forth. We're outraged. On July 25th, the FBI provided the committee with a less redacted version of the Richmond document. Report says the information on Catholics was primarily derived from an FBI Richmond contact, an FBI Portland liaison contact, who informed on a subject who gravitated to traditional Catholicism. Oh, my goodness. And an FBI undercover employee who reported on a subject who attended a Catholic church in California. So now it's Richmond, Virginia, and it's Portland, Oregon, and it's California. It also says the FBI's L.A. field office initiated an investigation into a subject, and that the Richmond office coordinated with the FBI Portland office to prepare the field report. In other words, this was a widespread bureau effort. So now the question is, not what was just going on in Richmond, what's going on across the country within the FBI? Oh, by the way, since we're on Merrick Garland and remembering the FBI's attitude towards Catholics and pro-life Catholics, like that pro-life prayer warrior whose home they raided in Pennsylvania. Brett Baer asked Christopher Wray about that, the Mark Houck raid and prosecution, which didn't go anywhere. That's what he said.
That decision to use that force, was that by the book?
So there's a whole lot of things that goes into the judgment about what is the way to conduct arrests safely and securely that are made, I think, appropriately by the career agents on the ground who have the closest visibility to the circumstances.
Feel better about the FBI? And now that you've been reminded of some of what they've offered in defense of a absurd raid, not just the substance of it, but also the basis for it, and this memo that involved many more offices and individuals than was initially reported. By the way, at what point did Chris Wray know that? And did he know that before his latest run testifying before Congress? And if he did, why didn't he disclose what he knew? They turned around and disclosed this less redacted memo July 25th. I expect that was shortly after he testified. What, he didn't know about that then? Just like he has no idea what did or did not happen on January 6th with respect to the FBI? For more on this, particularly as it pertains to targeting people that are practicing traditional Catholicism.
Oh, my God.
Holy, somebody better do something. We're pleased to be joined by Mary Fiorito. She is an attorney and the Cardinal George Fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Mary, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
How about this latest development, the FBI being less than forthright and the performative outrage of Garland and Wray being less than convincing, it would seem?
Well, I want to say that it's shocking and surprising, but frankly, I don't think it's either. When I was first reading about this and I saw that they specifically mention the Society of St. Pius X, and for those who aren't Catholic or who aren't familiar with that particular part of Catholicism, they're kind of even a subset among people who attend the traditional Latin Mass, and their canonical status is kind of murky because, back in the 80s, St. John Paul II excommunicated a couple of their bishops because they wouldn't come into unity in terms of doctrine and that sort of thing. So that's a really odd, granular piece of information for the FBI to have, something that even most practicing Catholics probably wouldn't be able to articulate to you very well. So when I saw that they were at that sort of level of specificity, I thought this can't just be one office. This has to be more widespread because the SXPX are not in every major metropolitan area, and certainly not in smaller areas across the country. So I thought there had to be some kind of coordinated effort, and it appears to be true.
What do you what's your general sense of the attitude toward government, particularly at the federal level and in blue states like our own here, Illinois, towards people of faith, Catholics and people of faith generally?
Well, it's clear that we're seen as suspect, right? The FBI's assessment that if you're a traditional Catholic, meaning that you prefer a style of worship on Sundays that involves the more traditional liturgy and you don't particularly like guitar masses, that somehow that means you're a potential domestic terrorist. And that there seems to be different, levels of justice for people like Mark Houck and then, people, pro-life people praying in front of an abortion clinic in Washington, D.C., two of whom I know personally were attacked 2 weeks ago. The video circulated widely on social media, and one was really beaten very badly, and the police initially said they weren't even going to press charges. So there seems to be two standards here, right? Two methods of bringing people who do things in front of abortion clinics illegally to justice, and it certainly doesn't favor the pro-life side one iota. And in fact, I think we're deliberately given harsher penalties, harsher treatment, and certainly not treated fairly.
But Mary, why would they want to target Catholics? Isn't our president Catholic?
Yeah, he's he, as we would say in today's jargon, he identifies as a Catholic, and I can't read his heart. That's for God to judge him, but he certainly does seem to track with a far more liberal interpretation of what it means to live as a follower of Christ in his day-to-day life. Some of his actions, particularly regarding abortion, are really shocking to the conscience. He is the but-for cause of signing some executive orders that that directly led to the deaths of thousands of unborn children. And I don't know how he can, stand and say, my faith is very important to me and it guides my daily life. And on the other hand, he's signing these executive orders that essentially sentenced thousands of unborn children to death.
There's an interesting piece in The Hill by Maureen Ferguson of the Catholic Association about women and abortion. And she notes this survey that was done this past spring that finds a peer-reviewed study of 1,000 women. Most women experience a crisis during pregnancy, don't want an abortion, but they get one out of desperation. The survey found 60% of those women said they would have carried their child to term if they had greater emotional or financial support or both. Sadly, 2/3 said their decision to abort violated their own values and preferences. And yet, here we have in Illinois, Governor Pritzker signing legislation targeting pregnancy care centers and suggesting, not just suggesting, stating explicitly that they're liars, and which is one accusation, that's a personal one, and also his personal interpretation of the Constitution is that you don't have a right to lie, only he does. Your response to the climate now in Illinois with pregnancy care centers?
Yeah, that's absolutely appalling. I mean, we sort of knew that was coming. That kind of legislation has been percolating in Springfield, depending on the administration, for more than 20 years now. And, I have had the privilege of serving on the board of directors of a maternity home and pregnancy center in the Chicago area where we have cared for thousands of women, regardless of their religious background, their race, their creed, whatever. We will help any pregnant woman who comes to us. And our philosophy is that when a woman is faced with a crisis pregnancy, you eliminate the crisis. You don't eliminate the child. And there is a study that pro-abortion people like to cite fairly regularly. It's called the Turnaway Study. And that looked at 1,000 women who were turned away from having abortions for whatever reason. They couldn't get the money together in time. Their local clinic only did abortions up to 20 weeks, and they were a little bit further past that point. And when they surveyed these women a year after they couldn't get the abortions they wanted, they were suffering from emotional distress. They didn't have a support system yet. What drove them to the abortion was still present in their lives. But when they talk to the same women 5 years later, 95% of the women in that study said they were glad that the abortion didn't happen. They loved their child, they bonded with their child. Again, because the crisis that was making them consider abortion was temporary, and by that time it had resolved themselves. And they're all saying, "Wow, I'm really glad I didn't have that abortion because I have this beautiful child now." And those things, they work themselves out. So, in Illinois, I can't help but think that Governor Pritzker, what he is doing now, he wants to make sure that women don't have a choice. Their only choice is abortion. It is abundantly available. Clinics are in Illinois now advertising on their websites for abortions up to 28 weeks. That is 6 weeks past viability. Taxpayers are funding a lot of them. So, if you have a woman who is in crisis and she really needs help, and the state is dangling in front of her a free solution, to her problem, she is coerced into making a choice, as you point out, Dan, that she didn't want to make. And then she lives with regret and guilt for years and years afterwards. And so, Illinois is not a pro-choice state. It is a pro-abortion state. That is the only choice that we are supporting with our dollars and with our laws.
Well, we have this problem on the pro-life side. It manifested itself in Ohio yesterday, too. This referendum to increase the threshold required to amend the Constitution failed, so now it just takes a simple majority to this November inculcate the right to an abortion in the Ohio Constitution, which is what the pro-aborts in Ohio want to do. And this, despite the fact, pregnancy care centers, sticking on that, for example, 80% of Republicans, 72% of independents, 73% of Democrats support funding for pregnancy care centers. And yet Pritzker gets away with targeting them like we've just described. And yet we're losing referendums on this abortion on demand culture in places like Ohio and Kansas. So what is the pro-life movement and maybe by extension the Republican Party? What are we missing?
Well, I think following any kind of seismic event like the overturn of Roe, you're going to see the ship listing a little bit, right, either to the right or to the left. And I think that's what we're seeing, at least in some states, is a little bit of the listing to the left. And, generally these things tend to kind of center themselves after a time. But, there's a whole number of different ways you can look at what happened in Ohio. There was a lot of hard left money that came in there, a lot of it, and we were certainly outfunded in that regard. There's no question. However, I don't think people took it as seriously as they should have. And, you look at our elections here in Illinois. If people don't show up to the polls and they don't show up in big numbers, you got to live with the consequences of that. And so I think what we need to do is to sit down and to say, in what ways are we missing the message that's resonating with people? Illinois requires a supermajority to ratify a citizen-initiated constitutional amendment, and so does Florida, and so does Colorado. This is not an unusual thing.
No, of course. Well, that's sort of the point. But it was essentially made on the campaign was made a referendum question on the right to abortion, quote unquote, and 14 points in a state Trump won by 8. That should be concerning.
Oh, it should be. And there were a number of groups, the Catholic bishops in Ohio among them, from what I understand, who did not come out in favor of Proposition 1 because they said on its face it had no moral content, or, it was content neutral, which I suppose technically is true. And so they didn't weigh in on it when every headline we saw the next day said this was a clear vote on abortion. That's what the voters in Ohio thought it was on both sides, apparently. So that there were some groups that kind of sat this one out and didn't encourage their congregations or their parishioners or what have you to get out and vote, and didn't stress the importance of it. That hurt as well. And so everybody kind of needs to get on the same page in terms of what some of these referenda, what they mean in real life, right? Not what they're just saying on their face.
And I'll tell you what, I know Leonard Leo was involved in his group, and the messaging out of the gate was muddled. They were sort of late to the dance. And this is just another lesson. The other side, the left, 24/7, constant motion messaging machine. And, we're in, we're out, we're around. We finally get around to getting engaged in something like this late, and then then sometimes the messaging isn't really on point out of the gate, and you got to make a course correction, and by that time 500,000 people have voted, and and it's just it's organizational as well as messaging, it seems to me, both within the pro-life movement and as it's connected to the Republican Party when it comes to initiatives like this.
Right, and that's absolutely right, Dan, and that's been a winning strategy for the pro-abortion movement. I mean, we see this right in the wake of the Dobbs decision. All of a sudden, I'm reading in the newspaper that treatment for ectopic pregnancies is now going to be illegal in some states. And the treatment for an ectopic pregnancy is not an abortion. That was a very clear point on Planned Parenthood's website until about a month after Dobbs. And I think that's indicated by the fact that the Catholic hospitals treat women with ectopic pregnancies all the time, and abortion clinics don't treat women with ectopic pregnancies. So clearly it's not, an abortion, but yet that talking point was amplified and amplified and amplified. And then you had people voting in Kansas, for example, thinking that women who had ectopic pregnancies were not going to be able to be treated because of a pro-life law, and that is simply false. You look what happened in that Nebraska case last week when the young woman was sentenced to 90 days in prison. And I mean, the Rolling Stones had a headline that said, "Woman sentenced to 90 days for illegal abortion." That's not what she was sentenced for, nor charged for. She was sentenced for desecrating a corpse. She was charged with the desecration of a corpse. She gave birth to a 30-week stillborn baby in her shower, and then put it into her Weber grill with apple briquettes to set fire to it to try to conceal the smell of the human remains. And desecration of a corpse is a crime in Nebraska and every other state in the country, right? So that's what she was charged with.
And the least of her crimes.
Correct.
God.
But again, in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, right. No, I get it.
Absolutely false headline. No one corrected it. And you have people now thinking this poor young girl, sobbing, being led away in handcuffs, was convicted for having an abortion. It's not true.
Mary Fiorillo is an attorney and the Cardinal George Fellow at the Ethics and Public Policy Center. Mary, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. Great to be with you again.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Donald Trump has been indicted for the third time for what he said and did between the 2020 election and January 6th. There's plenty about Trump's conduct to criticize. But for people who claim to care so deeply about our democracy, the Biden administration, the special prosecutor, and the New York DA are inflicting serious damage on it. For any country's justice system to survive, people must believe in its fairness. The Trump prosecutions are destroying that. The New York and January 6 cases depend on legally shaky, novel applications of the law. In the documents case, only Trump is being prosecuted for activity that other officials allegedly engaged in without penalty. A special counsel was named only after Trump announced his presidential run. Indictments came in only after he took a commanding lead in the primary. This has the look of Banana Republic stuff, and it's heartbreaking for America.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
All right, now's the time when structural problems start in your home. If you're noticing new cracks in your walls or brickwork, sinking ground or concrete, sagging floors, gaps under baseboards, sticking doors, windows, these are all symptoms of foundation problems, and it's time to call Permaseal Basement Systems. All too often, homeowners ignore these signs and then experience even bigger problems later on, which in turn cost way more to fix. So call Permaseal today. 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-7325. You can rely on an honest, accurate, and free evaluation from Permaseal's trained experts. For over 41 years, Permaseal has been Chicagoland's and Northwest Indiana's most trusted contractor for basement and foundation repairs. They've earned an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and have a 4.9-star Google rating. What's not to love? For a free, thorough inspection, call our good friends at Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. That's 800-421-7325, or visit permaseal.net.
If you want to remodel your home, there's the easy way or the frustrating way. Rick here from Forever Remodeling, and the frustrating way is how most people remodel their homes. They hire an architect and an interior designer and a builder separately. But when multiple companies work on your job, communication is a mess. Costs balloon beyond budget, and no one takes accountability if an issue pops up. Don't be like most homeowners. Choose the easy way, the Forever Remodeling way. We handle your entire remodel in-house, your blueprints, design, and construction. When every expert is under one roof, you get clear communication, total accountability, and a stunning one-time on-budget final result. Want to remodel your kitchen or bathroom, finish your basement, build an addition? Choose the easy way. Choose the Forever Remodeling way. For a free consultation, call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number foreverremodeling.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
They came for your, your stove, your refrigerator, your water heater, your washing machine, your dishwasher. Now for the ice cream truck in the neighborhood.
Oh, no.
At 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
68 degrees at 8:33. Areas of heavy and dense fog will persist until around 9 a.m. Inflation in the United States edging up in July after 12 straight months of small declines, but excluding volatile food and energy costs, so-called core inflation matched the smallest monthly rise in nearly 2 years. Wind whip wildfires sweeping the Hawaiian island of Maui have forced hundreds to evacuate. Hawaii Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke is telling tourists to alter their coming trips.
Whether it's visitors or residents, it's not a safe place for you to be. We encourage people to be safe. If you have travel plans to Maui, we ask that you postpone it or cancel it at this time.
Officials say wildfires sweeping across the western part of that island have killed at least 36. At least 24 more are hurt. Nearly 100 people in the U.S. and Australia have been arrested on child sex abuse charges. It's part of a global investigation that began after 2 FBI agents were killed 2 years ago. The Australian Federal Police announcing that 19 men there have been arrested on charges of sharing child sex abuse material online, and at least 13 children were rescued. President Biden issuing an executive order restricting some U.S. investments in China. The bans are aimed at a handful of critical technologies related to the modernization of China's military and intelligence capabilities. An off-duty Cook County Sheriff's Office deputy was shot and critically hurt last night on the south side of Chicago, around 9 p.m. near Midway Airport, 47th and South Cicero. A Cook County jail inmate is dead after being beaten to death. A pair was found fighting Tuesday morning. The pair separated. Johnny Hendricks was rushed to a nearby hospital and later died from his injuries. Northwestern Athletic Director Derek Gregg is speaking out against apparel, T-shirts, worn by staffers and assistant coaches of the football team. During practice yesterday, staffers were spotted in T-shirts that read Northwestern against the world. The shirt included the jersey number of former linebacker and head coach Pat Fitzgerald, who was fired after hazing allegations were made against the program. Gregg says he's extremely disappointed with the T-shirts. And the boys from the Elmhurst Little League are a step away from making it to the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And on Wednesday, they got rained out. It's the first time the Elmhurst Little League has made it to the Little League Regional Championship. So we're understanding today, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time, ESPN2, the Great Lakes Championship. Illinois will take on Ohio, and they'll do battle in Whitestown, Indiana this afternoon. Cubs lost to the Mets 4-3, and the White Sox put a professional clubbing on the Yankees, a 9-2 win for the Southsiders. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news, MyPillow employees want to thank you by giving you the lowest price in history on their MyPillows. Queen-size MyPillows, regular price, $69.98. Now, only $19.98 with promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a very, very skeptical person, so I think even if it had started working sooner, I was like, no, it can't be just Balance of Nature. Till I finally gave in and said, you know what? I think it's the Balance of Nature. So somebody will say, oh, I noticed this, or you look really good today, or you know, such and such, and I go, I know, it's the Balance of Nature. I have fingernails that I've never had before. They're long and they're strong and they're wow.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
When this is the sound of a crackling campfire on a cool evening, you can sit back and relax. But when it's the sound of your counters and cabinets smoking and smoldering following a house fire that's affected your entire kitchen, you need to pick up the phone and call 1-800-SERVPRO. Only the cleanup and restoration specialists at ServPro can help make fire and water damage like it never even happened. So make the call to 1-800-SERVPRO when fire damage strikes. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Test Director Rick from ServPro, the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. It's my job to make sure our pros are prepared for anything. Storm damage? Fixed. Flood damage? We're on it. Fire damage? Not anymore. Aliens? What? Aliens? We cleaned those sites a while ago. No matter the disaster, our pros will make it like it never even happened. Find out why ServPro is the #1 choice for residential and commercial restoration projects large and small. Visit servpro.com today.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
8:39. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Blindster.com. Think custom blinds is a job for expensive pros? Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install their blinds. Save big. Plus, they'll guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com. Inbound Kennedy is about 65 minutes now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, tough through the avenues, 60 minutes from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson, 43 from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan in, 25 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. 8094 still a complete mess due to a major crash eastbound between Calumet and Grant. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunshine today, patchy clouds, high 83. Currently 68. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Everything bad in the world was caused by climate change, which is why we need to turn over our individual sovereignty to John Kerry and the fellow central planners to save the planet for us. That's the value proposition, it seems to me, from these eco-supremacists. And the latest threat, Mr. Softy.
Who?
No, I mean literally Mr. Softy and other ice cream trucks in New York City. And
New
so,
York City.
If it's happening in New York City, you know it will be proposed by politicians in Chicago in 3-2. Brooklyn Councilman Lincoln Ressler pushing new legislation that would require Mr. Softy and other ice cream trucks to stop powering their soft serve machines and freezers with generators that use fuel.
Oh, my God.
They need to switch over to environmentally friendly alternatives like electric or solar power at a cost of $5,000 or more.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You can also reach us on our text line, 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Yeah. At least you had one member of the city council in New York from Staten Island. At least they have, like, unlike our city council for the most part. I mean, there's sort of kind of some exceptions, but not really. At least they have one guy who's willing to call bull jive. Joe Borelli from Staten Island.
Hey.
Talking about his colleague that introduced this from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try to convince myself that hipster Brooklyn is part of the real world with real world problems. And then Lincoln Ressler goes and reminds us of priority number 1, banning the ice cream man. Yeah, that about sums it up. It is absurd, but that doesn't mean that these eco-supremacists are not a real threat, because they are. They absolutely are. And by the way, some have pointed to, did you see the thing, the projected cost savings from the gas stove regulations promulgated by the Energy Department are not what the federal government said they were going to be. It's like they were off by a factor of 3. Of course they were. You think this is about energy savings? This is
you think
about,
they really care about the planet?
This is about political power. This is about John Kerry's political power grows and your individual sovereignty shrinks. That's fundamental. That's the only thing it's really about. John Stossel, friend
of the show, yeah. He's been on.
Yeah, long-time friend of the show. And even, frankly, back when he was still on 2020 doing these reports when there was actually interest in the D.C. press corps in different perspectives and debate, which obviously what different perspectives drives. He sat down with Judith Curry, who we've had on our show too, but it's been a while. We need to get her back. We need to include her in the conversations that we have with the Bjorn Lomborgs and the Patrick Moores, the Steve Malloys of the world. Judith Curry, it's too bad Peyton was late in getting to Georgia Tech because she used to be the chair of the School of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at Georgia Tech.
Oh, nice.
And back in the day, earlier in her academic career, she was a star. She was a darling of the John Kerry set because she authored a study that suggested that storms were getting more intense and more frequent as a result of
climate change.
But then her study came under question by peers, and she actually looked at the criticisms that her peers made of her study, and she concluded, yeah, they had a point. So she's an actual academic. She's an actual scientist who goes where the evidence leads. She just doesn't take an ideological position and stick to it regardless of the evidences, which is what you have here in this this phony consensus that's oft discussed. Here's the backstory on Judith Curry provided to us by Stossel.
It's a manufactured consensus.
Researcher Judith Curry says climate scientists have an incentive to exaggerate risk. Why? What's in it for them?
Fame and fortune.
She knows about that because she once spread alarm about climate change. And the media loved her when she published this study saying there was an increase in hurricane intensity.
We found that the percent of Category 4 and 5 hurricanes had doubled.
Really? Doubled?
And so this was picked up by the media. The alarmists said, oh, here's the way to do it.
It being get the public alarmed.
Climate change is making hurricanes stronger and more destructive.
Tie extreme weather events to global warming.
So this hysteria is your fault.
Well, sort of. Not really. They would have picked up on it anyways.
But Curry's more intense hurricanes gave them fuel.
I was adopted by the environmental advocacy groups and the alarmists, and I was treated like a rock star.
What does that mean, treated like a rock star?
Oh my God, I was flown all over the place to meet with politicians and to give these talks and lots of media attention.
But then
some researchers pointed out gaps in her research, years with low levels of hurricanes.
So like a good scientist, I went in and investigated all that stuff.
She realized her critics were right.
Part of it was bad data. Part of it is natural climate variability.
So you're the unusual researcher who looks at criticism of your paper and actually concluded they had a point.
They had a point for sure.
But by then, the climate alarmism racket was in full effect and very powerful. Very powerful. And here's sort of a brief summary of how that occurred. It's interesting because it sort of tracks the rise and fall, if you will, of Judith Curry's career as an academic.
The origins go back to the 1980s. And the UN Environmental Program.
Some UN officials had a specific agenda.
Anti-capitalism, they hated the oil companies, and they seized on the climate change issue as one to move their policies along.
The UN created what's called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
The IPCC wasn't supposed to focus on any benefits of warming. The IPCC's mandate was to look for dangerous human-caused climate change.
Obviously, if you're only looking for risk, that's what you'll find.
Then the national funding agencies directed all the funding in the field.
If you say we're all going to die, and we got to spend a ton of money on this, you get funding. If you say, we don't know, you don't get funding?
No, it's more subtle than that. The announcements of opportunity for funding are really tied to assuming that there are dangerous impacts.
So the researchers aren't stupid. They know what they need to say to get funding.
Exactly.
Well, even more than that, if you start from the same premise, these people are going to draw the same conclusions, in addition to knowing that they have to draw those conclusions to get funding. This is how the racket works. The racket directs the funding, which generates the quote-unquote scholarship with preordained conclusions that the media use to foment hysteria that the politicians seize on to aggrandize their control. Pretty linear, pretty straightforward. They've done it before. They just did it for the last 3 years. Are you noticing? You sensing a pattern? You seeing what's coming?
Getting published is crucial to researchers because that's how they advance in academia.
If you wanted to advance in your career, like be at a prestigious university, get a big salary, have big laboratory space, get lots of grant funding, be director of an institute, well, there was clearly one path to go.
So alarmist researchers control the discussion. They publish lots of scary papers, and alarmist media jump on those. Time magazine says climate is everything. Good Morning America agrees.
Climate change is impacting everything from conception to pregnancy.
Transportation congestion, the size of frogs, everything.
Airplane turbulence.
Expect turbulence like this to become more frequent due to climate change.
Childhood obesity.
Climate change is making our children more obese.
Experts say that we have until 2030 to avoid catastrophe.
Activists hear the media and freak out.
Children are starving.
The potential extinction of the human race.
Run for your lives!
We're all gonna die.
And Judith Curry said, she could have stayed at her tenured position at Georgia Tech instead of speaking out. And, that's where your bread gets buttered.
If I was doing this for the money, I would have stayed at Georgia Tech and sucked up my big salary. But that's not who I am. My personal and professional integrity would not allow me to play that game.
Unfortunately, the number of names that we can, the number of names that fit that description, we can count on one hand. We can actually tick them off. There is an effort afoot, by the way, a good piece by Bjorn Lomborg in the New York Post, talking about, as he often does on our show, stopping the panicking and being thoughtful and conversational on this stuff. Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. It's an international coalition of politicians, business leaders, public intellectuals, and cultural commentators that are oriented to help ensure a broader range of perspectives can be heard globally. So, that's in its infancy, and this is a lot further along, obviously, and has a lot more resources and a lot more acolytes, and like the World Economic Forum, a lot of people in positions of power in Western governments. So right now, the fight is decidedly one-sided. But it's an important one. And I'm not just talking about for the ice cream truck, but I am also talking about the ice cream truck. Matt on the south side.
Taking away all our plans.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. I actually just looked up this Joe Borelli. I wasn't familiar with who he is. And I thought to myself, maybe he's on a little more of a plump side. Maybe he's a little bit of a bigger guy, and that's what's going to save Mr. Softy. And I looked, and he does appear to be healthy, a healthy-sized, larger person. So maybe we can look to people like him to save Mr. Softy and perhaps to keep us from eating bugs in the future.
Fudgicle eaters of the world unite. Save Mr. Softy.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, everybody. Charlie Kirk here. Are you worried about investing in the stock market, especially with Joe Biden in office? Do you really trust the economy? What if you could invest in a secure, collateralized portfolio with a high fixed rate of return that's not correlated to the stock market or the Fed? A portfolio where you'll know what each monthly statement will look like with no surprises. Your interest is compounded daily. You're repaid monthly, and there are no fees. You can turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. And get this, there's absolutely no loss of principal if you ever need your money back. Just go to investrefy.com. That's invest, the letter Y, then refy.com, or call 888-YREFI, 888-YREFY24. You can earn a fixed rate of return or up to 10.25%. Just call 888-YREFY24 or go to investrefy.com and tell them Charlie Kirk sent you.
Your kids probably haven't been thinking about school very much this summer, and probably not thinking about it starting again in just a few weeks. But it's the perfect time for you to think about where you'll be sending your child back to school. More and more parents are thinking about private Christian schools, and maybe that's you. Well, private school has never been more affordable, thanks to halfpriceschools.com, where you can find tuition vouchers for private schools across Chicagoland, available at half of the normal price. There's no catch. It's simple. Find a school near you, purchase a voucher, and prepare to send your child off to school this fall. HalfPriceSchools.com has schools located all across Chicagoland, including schools like Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights, Emmanuel Lutheran in Palatine, Kingswood Academy in Darien, St. Andrews Lutheran in Park Ridge, Trinity Lutheran in Lombard, and many more. But don't delay. Summer is almost over, and school will be starting again before you know it. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. Many of these vouchers have already sold out, so don't wait. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. That's HalfPriceSchools.com.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
All right, I just downed it. I have Balance of Nature breath right now. Can you smell it? It's good. Little fruity, little vegetables. Actually, there's 31 different fruits and vegetables in these bad boys, and I love it. Because guess what? When you give your body the best possible fuel, you have more energy. You're stronger, and you think more quickly. So be one of the cool kids and get Balance of Nature. What they do is they take the fruits and vegetables, they're powdered after an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. You have to ask yourself, did you have any fruits and vegetables yesterday? Maybe one helping. Well, you need more, and that's where Balance of Nature comes in. The number to call, 800-246-8755, 800-246-8751, or simply go online to balanceofnature.com and be sure to use discount code Chicago.
You are invited to attend the Father's Tom Art Show, inspiring faith in God through beauty with Father Tom Loya and Father Tom Coys. Sunday afternoon, August 13th from 2 until 4. You'll enjoy original art by both priest artists, Father Tom Loya and Father Tom Coys. Stroll through the different galleries featuring original art, while also enjoying a light summer sangria wine and cheese buffet. Learn how beauty can lead to a deeper longing for the divine artist. That's the Father's Tom Art Show with both artist priests, Father Tom Loya and Father Tom Coys. Sunday afternoon from 2 until 4, August 13th at Annunciation Byzantine Catholic Church, 14610 South Wilcook Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. The Father's Tom Art Show is co-sponsored by Annunciation Byzantine Catholic Church and the Sag Bridge Mission Society.
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle on his own.
I owed the IRS taxes for over 5 years, but I didn't have any money to pay the taxes.
Those years cost him dearly.
Most of it was fees and interest. It was horrible.
Ron finally called in the pros.
I called Optima Tax Relief, and boy, am I happy I did.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima, is A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've resolved over $1 billion for their clients. Ron was overjoyed.
They settled my account with the IRS. I was ecstatic. They are a lifesaver. They are. I am so happy.
Take Ron's advice and call Optima now for a free consultation.
Yeah, don't do like I did and wait. Call Optima Tax Relief. Do it now. You'll be ecstatic like me.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up next, it's me, Mike Gallagher, right after Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560, The Answer.
All right, thanks to George Hoffman, Keith Conrad. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Heartbreak in Hawaii. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
There's at least a dozen friends that I haven't heard of in 48 hours, and we're really trying to connect.
And those people may or may not be among the 36 confirmed dead in a wildfire disaster.
Communities in the western part of Maui devastated, especially in the community of Lahaina. That community, a very special one to so many people, historic, beautiful, but residents now say it's unrecognizable. Search and rescue efforts are still underway. There's also been a massive effort to get people off of the island. So far, around 11,000 people have been flown out of here.
That's Fox's Max Gordon in Maui says thousands of residents are in shelters. Inflation crept back up last month. Fox's Ginny Casola has details.
The consumer price index rose 0.2% in July from June. The increase matched economists' predictions. Inflation in the year ending in July came in at 3.2%.
So there's a rally on Wall Street since that number was better than expected, even though a little higher than June. The Dow surging up more than 440 points. Another hearing in the Trump classified documents case.